point is I mean, you're not able to carry a child because I'm assuming that you are a man without a uterus.
Why?
And okay,
well,
you're
Steven Crowder and you
because
run
you're
the
fucking Steven Crowder, and I know you have a penis.
How do you know I have a penis?
Oh well, I don't. Never mind. It doesn't really.
No.
You can show us real quick. You want to prove it?
No, that's a felony. Let me ask you this, because there are people, for example, we had four people there, African Americans, who had a problem.
How do you know
with
they're poor just because they're African American?
I said four.
Oh, four. I think you said poor.
Ooh, careful with your presumptions.
No, I thought I misheard you. It wasn't a presumption. It sounded four and four.
There were four African Americans there. The number four.
I thought you said poor.
Okay, I didn't.
What were you asking?
Well, thanks.
Is their point of view was, okay, they were pro-choice. And then she was a mother of four. And when I asked her about the Texas heartbeat bill, she said, well, yeah, of course, after a heartbeat, because she had done an ultrasound, she said that's a life, that's a separate heart. Whose heart are you stopping? My question to you is this, because I know you're coming in hot and
I'm not coming in hot. I'm really speaking like, I'm not coming in hot. I'm not being aggressive.
But you understand the other perspective where someone says, someone does, certainly more than half the country believe at a limitation at some point, that at a certain point, it's no longer your own body. That's their argument, and that's why the Supreme Court has said it's bad law, and states should have the right to enforce those regulations. I'll let the woman speak.
Will the fetus survive if it's outside of your body?
So you don't have any children, right?
No, I don't.
Because a baby won't survive outside of the body.
No, it's relying on your body.
Right. A baby won't survive outside of the body, but I mean a baby delivered naturally won't survive outside of the body.
I mean,
but we're talking about fetus right now.
I'm talking about a fetus.
So what changes from, let's say, 8 weeks and 6 days, 8 months, 3 weeks, 6 days to 9 months? Is it just inside, outside the womb that makes it a person?
Well, one's a fetus and one's a baby.
But why is one a fetus if it's just 1 day shy of 9 months?
It's not relying on your body to your umbilical cord. And once it's outside and cut, that's
so is that what defines a person as the umbilical cord?
My opinion, yeah.
So what if a woman gives birth and they haven't cut the cord yet? Does that mean they can abort the baby at that point?
But nobody's even talking about aborting like a baby that's still on the cord.
It actually does exist. It actually does exist. There was a bill.
But we have like so many billions of people in the world.
But it was a bill presented that. And I feel like I've been pretty respectful in letting you talk a lot and go into different directions.
Well, you're interviewing me, so of course I would talk a lot. So yeah, and I'm also being respectful.
Well, I think interrupting is different from talking a lot. Would we agree? And you interrupted her.
Well, if you want me to leave, it's okay.
Well, I would like to hear her answer.
I'm having a conversation.
Okay, so the umbilical, is that what defines personhood? I mean, the point that other people are defining person, and people define it differently, and I understand that. For example, these four African Americans said, okay, heartbeat, they agree with the Texas bill. Some people think that it's after the first trimester, but at a certain, where would you define when it's a person?
Why is it called the heartbeat bill?
Because it's when you can detect a fetal heartbeat.
Can you detect a fetal heartbeat at 6 weeks?
Yes.
Not sure about that.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so what is your argument?
You didn't used to be able to, but you can now with more advanced ultrasound. And I just had twins, so yeah, I know it for a fact.
What is your argument?
No, my question is, can you understand? In other words, those people who were horrified right at the idea of aborting a baby after a heartbeat. And there are a lot of Americans who believe that, okay, once it has its own fingers, toes, sex, there are people who believe, like I do.
I believe in the woman's choice. I believe in the right to choose.
So when does that line, I guess, when is there the line of, and this is why it's going to states?
I mean, I've talked to many people that are pro-choice about this. I believe the woman has the right to abort a child whenever they want.
So all the way up until 9 months, including birth?
Yeah.
And you don't believe that baby is a person at 8 months, 7, even though they could be born and viable? Because you said viability earlier. They are viable. It's viable at 21 weeks.
If it's a person, if it's still in your body, you have the choice to do what you want
so
with your body. So
is a location what determines a person, in your body or outside of your body?
Once it's delivered, you carried. Okay, first of all, nobody really wants to abort a child at 8 months.
Yeah, it does. It happens all the time.
For many reasons, I've
had a couple friends with abortions. It was never at 8 months. It was always at when they find out.
A few months.
But my problem tens of thousands a year.
My problem also with this abortion bill is that it's making it so.
Why did they want to abort the child at 8 months old?
Well, now we're shifting the goalposts, right? I'm just saying it does happen, and there are states that restrict it, but there are some states that don't. My question is, would you restrict it then? If you're saying
no.
Okay, so someone should be able to abort at 8 months, 9 months.
If that's what they choose.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because it's their body, so it's their choice.
So
It's a person who is able to have a child, so it's their choice.
So if a woman is 8 months pregnant, using your premise, since we've gone to this, does that woman have 20 fingers? Does she have 20 toes? Does she have a penis if it's a boy?
What does
she have two brains?
What does that matter?
Well, because you're ending the life, the functioning life of another human being that has all of those things. So I'm saying, you're saying that's her body, so that woman has 20 toes?
What does that matter?
It's not her body if she doesn't have 20 fingers and toes.
Oh, you're saying 10 fingers plus her 10 fingers, that's 20 fingers.
So is it still the woman's body?
It's her child, it's her body,
well,
so
is it her
it's
child
her
or is it her
choice.
body?
Both. It's
It's one or the other. A child is not her body.
But who
her body has
decides,
to be separate from
when
her
it's
child.
a child? Probably the person that's carrying.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you would call it a child or a fetus. I know this is what it comes down to. Is it a child or a fetus? In my opinion, when it's in your body, the medical idea of what you call it, a fetus, is a fetus. If you aborted me when I was a fetus, I'm not gonna complain because I don't know. Because I'm not sentient. I'm not a person. You're a
Well, there are plenty
you're a
of
matter
people
of
who
cells.
aren't sentient. People with brain damage, babies who aren't sentient.
I'm not talking about like cleansing or anything like that. I'm talking about.
Well, you brought up sentience, and I'm just saying that's an important distinction to make.
I understand. Yeah.
Why is it not? Because you said child or her body. There's a big difference. Is it a child? I'm trying to understand where you're coming
You're
from.
not
I
in
understand
this
where
world
they
yet.
came from.
I don't think you're actually trying to understand where I'm coming from.
Well, I asked you, could you understand where they're coming from? Because I was 4 people. Can you understand where they say, well, it's a separate heartbeat, so I understand some kind of restriction?
Yeah, but I also think maybe they just aren't fully knowledgeable on the entirety of the Texas bill that was passed for 6 weeks.
The 4 black people.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know them. I didn't talk to them
But there
about
are a lot of Americans who think there should be a limitation. You understand that your view is considered, as extreme left, extreme right is no abortions, even in the case of rape and incest. Yours is abortion up until 9 months. That's considered a pretty radical view, and so I'm curious to understand where you draw.
Maybe.
And it seems to me like well, statistically, it's a radical view. Most Americans don't agree with that. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it would be considered very far left. What makes it acceptable? And this is a question that I am trying to understand. What makes it acceptable when it's a baby that is totally viable, because that's what you brought up first, is completely viable outside of the womb. There's no debate at this point, right?
It's still connected to her body.
So it's the umbilical cord.
Can I bring something up real quick?
It's that the fetus is still relying on the nutrients of her body to survive.
Right.
So it's her choice to end that pregnancy.
So it is exclusively that a baby is relying on the nutrients of the mother, because we both know the baby is relying entirely on the mother's capabilities.
Well, once
for a year, 2 years
the baby
after.
is born and once it's not connected to that person, then
The baby's relying on the mother's nutrients at that point, right? Mother's milk.
No, not necessarily. No.
Because of modern technology, but for a longest time they had to be breastfed. They're still reliant upon the mother's nutrients.
Can I bring something up real quick?
Well, not the mother that you don't
to
necessarily have to be the mother that birthed the child to keep the child alive.
Right, but it's reliant upon the nutrients of another woman. You said it's reliant upon the actual nutrients of another body.
What's the difference between the now child breastfeeding versus the child who is relying on the nutrients inside the body? Is
That's
what
my
you're
question.
saying? Yeah. Well, it's the person that had the child inside their body is. Where am I going with this?
We've been drinking, but can I bring something up? You brought up the war on drugs earlier and how it was ineffective because we poured all this money into it and we really heavily criminalized like drugs and to like an extreme extent, and it never worked. It actually made the problem worse. If you read any white papers, like any research paper on abortion and like limiting abortions, no matter what your ideal of like how conception or when it becomes a baby, abortions, like throughout anywhere that abortions have been criminalized, they still happen. But when you criminalize them, then you have the problems that we're facing right now. In the drug world, it's fentanyl, and I've lost 3 friends in 2 years from fentanyl. But in abortions, it's going to be illegal abortions because people are still going to be desperate and still going to have them, and people are still going to die and be like harmed.
Now I'm 21.
There won't be illegal.
Right now I'm
What do you mean they won't be
21. I
illegal?
can't
That's
afford
what
to have
they're
a
doing.
child, but if I were pregnant, I couldn't afford to have a child. I would get an abortion, a safe, legal abortion. It would allow me to have a child in the future because I didn't have to harm my own body to abort this child.
Right.
So if a safe, easy abortion, legal, would ensure that I was able to have a child in the future. So
Okay.
why, I don't
understand the question. Are you asking me a question?
No, I'm just making a point.
Okay, because I was still waiting. I was just waiting for the answer on the question regarding the breastfeeding and umbilical cord, and I understand you were talking about fentanyl.
So
if we don't have abortions, we'll have more
If you're
fentanyl.
taking away safe, legal abortions, then if someone has no choice and can't afford a child and
Well,
still...
they have a lot of. Let's be honest about this. It's just, I think they have a lot of choices.
You didn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
So if it was not legal to have an abortion and a person is still able to go out and have what we call a back alley abortion, could ruin their body for the rest of their life. They're not going to be able to have a child in the future because it fucked up their uterus. So a safe legal abortion would ensure that that child or that person could have a child in the future.
Not necessarily.
Why?
The correlation equaling causation that a safe legal abortion, and there's of course the argument to be made that it's never safe for the baby involved, but there are other choices that wouldn't ensure anything, because what does ensure it is contraception, abstinence, motherhood, adoption.
Why
Abstinence
is it not,
doesn't work. Everybody knows that.
Okay, I gave you 3 other options.
And
abstinence
also,
does work.
can I tell you, adoption?
I don't know about you, but there's never been a single baby from people who haven't been having sex.
Yeah, but we're all human and everybody has sex. And you try to teach kids about abstinence like they taught us in Texas, and it doesn't work. And a lot of people get pregnant when they're young because they don't know anything about contraception.
They get pregnant if they're not practicing abstinence. Yes, I agree with you.
But who practices abstinence? Are you going to be a monk? Do you practice abstinence?
I've written about it extensively, yeah. Before I was married.
Practice it?
Yeah, before I was married, yeah. A lot of people do.
To each their own. But
well, you just made an argument that said to each their own. Yeah. I said 3 options. There's abstinence, contraception.
Most people don't do
a teenager in high school, if you tell them to never have sex, well, of course they're going to have sex.
And a lot of people don't have
abstinence, contraception.
And you never teach the person or the child in high school how to have safe sex.
Right.
That's the whole point of abstinence,
I'm not advocating that. I think I was pretty
really
clear because I brought up the other choices.
We're about to
outside
go
of
somewhere,
abortion,
but
right?
where else?
I don't really give a shit. Yeah. I don't know what your point is.
Well, you said
can we wrap it up?
That choice of safe, legal, and rare abortion.
We're just spiraling out of control.
Well, you said the choice of safe, legal, and rare abortion would ensure, and I was saying there are other options that ensure.
Can we wrap it up real quick?
Abstinence, contraception. No, hold on a second. Let me finish. Abstinence, contraception, motherhood, adoption. Abortion's not required to ensure it. Do you understand? Because you use the word required to ensure.
I'm sure you're aware that there are states that are making contraceptives illegal.
No, I'm not.
You're not aware of that?
There's been multiple talks.
There are no states right now that make contraception illegal.
Yeah, but
well, they're trying to, right?
Okay, so now we've changed the goalposts.
No, this is what we're talking about.
That's literally what I just said.
Right
There
now
are states that are trying to
Mississippi
make
right now is
illegal.
talked about how they're making contraceptives legal is not off the board, which is a pretty intense thing to say.
The state legislature of Mississippi has not said that.
What about Louisiana and the IUD?
About the IUD, are you talking about
gotta go, so can we bring it back and wrap it up on whatever?
Yeah, no, I thought we just did bring it back. You brought it back to the war on drugs, that you were studying human rights abroad and can't afford a house, and that's a human right on the internet, and I think we've gone to a lot of different directions, where I wanted to just have a conversation about Roe v. Wade, and I appreciate you going these different directions.
Nicotine? You can smoke if you want.
It's okay, I don't need anything. I appreciate it, though. Thanks for offering. But I think I understand where you guys line up on Roe v. Wade, and I think that there's a divide in this country, and states are going to be able to establish their own laws.
My point is I mean, you're not able to carry a child because I'm assuming that you are a man without a uterus.
Why?
And okay, well,
you're Steven Crowder and you're
fucking Steven Crowder, and I know you have a penis.
How do you know I have a penis?
Oh well, I don't. Never mind. It doesn't really.
No.
You can show us real quick if you want to prove it.
No, that's a felony.
We're okay with it. We're consenting. So
it doesn't matter. The other people here aren't consenting.
I'll show you mine if you consent.
That's the last thing I want to see.
It's pretty big.
He never goes to the doctor, so maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's because he lays it on the microwave. So
no, maybe because he can't.
I'm a man. I'll go with it. I'm a man. And let me guess. You're about to say because I'm a man, I shouldn't have an opinion on abortion, right?
Well,
do you have an opinion on murder, theft, arson? Come on. It's a silly argument. But
you can have an opinion. We're all entitled to our opinion.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Be safe.
You too.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.